Welcome to the Jeff Knows Inc. Entrepreneurial Show with your host, Jeff Lopes.
We are live on the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. Super excited to have across from us here, Brad Lea. I've been trying to get Brad on the podcast for a while. I'm just like hyper. I got almost a little anxious this morning. I'm like, fuck, I got Brad Lea on my podcast. It's pretty cool. He's trying to get his mic all set up for me.
There you go.
When I start my podcast, I usually get to talk about what the actual current guest is, what they're doing or what they're up to now, but I'm going to take it a little differently. Let's take it from Brad Lea as a kid. What were you like as a kid? Where did you grow up? And let's start the story from there.
I grew up in a small town in the Northwest, Cottage Grove, Oregon. I was just a little whippersnapper running around, riding bikes, playing in the woods, cops and robbers, your normal, kid growing up in the 80s or the 70s, really. Kind of a smart ass, kind of a know-it-all. My parents were the kind of parents that kind of let you just, do your thing. I didn't really have a lot of supervision. They made sure I didn't die, but they didn't give me much parenting or supervision. So I was kind of left to my own devices, man. Just was very inquisitive, had to figure everything out my own way, and had fun. I think my childhood was awesome.
I had a very similar childhood. My parents are both blue-collar workers. My dad would work at Ford Motors, so 2 weeks day, 2 weeks night, 2 weeks a month I want to see my dad. My mom had 2 jobs. So I mean, like 8, 9 years old, I'd be coming home, making a sandwich, laying up the dogs, and jumping on my bike and be gone till dark and then come home, right? I think that was our way of growing up. I think it's so special, and I think that's something that's lost for a lot of kids because their curiosity, your adventure, your learning process is so different. Do you find that it's a different way of living nowadays with kids?
Well, absolutely. I'd never let my kid disappear till dark. Never. Especially with social media and the advent of technology, it's completely different childhood nowadays.
So a big part of who you are is sales. When did you start figuring out and learning the sales process or just being a salesman in general? Was it from a young age? Was it something that you picked on with somebody else? Where did it all start?
Well, I mean, officially 17 years old, but, I actually started selling, even being entrepreneurial young. When I was 6 years old in first grade, they gave me a box of candy bars to run around and sell. And I ended up selling more candy bars than any other kid in the world. Outsold not only the school's history, but like literally in any stretch of the imagination, I sold more candy bars than any kid ever in the history of the world. So I knew I could sell then. I developed a little pitch when I knocked on the door, but I knew I had the gift, of gab.
You remember that pitch?
Yeah, I just asked them if they know the phone number to a good roof repairman. And when they said, what? I said, because when you taste one of these, you're going to go through the roof. And they just started buying box after box. They were laughing. It was fun. I went to door.
How old were you, he said?
I was probably 7 years old, come to think of it.
It was cute at that point. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it might have been 6 years old because it was after I started school. I started school when I was 5 years old. My birth certificate, because I was born in January, had the old year. So like when the nurse wrote my birth date, she wrote 1/27/68 because it was 68, but now it was 69. January came and it's 69 now. But you used to, when you wrote down the year, accidentally write the old year out of habit. So my parents had a birth certificate that said I was 5 and one that said I was 6. So they put me in school at 5 years old. So first grade is when I think I did it. I might have been even 5 years old.
When's your birthday? January what?
27.
I'm the 25th. You're Aquarius too.
I am Aquarius. Aquarius will rule the world.
What year were you born in?
69.
69. So you're a few years. You're 7, 8 years older than me.
52 years old, my man. 52 years old.
You is now the new 35, huh? How do you feel mentally? Like, one thing, I'm a 44 and I feel like I'm 25 mentally still. And you have that young energy all the time. How do you feel? Like, Because it's a different mindset from when we were kids growing up. You look at your dad at 52 and you're like, oh, he's an old man. Now 52 is such a different mindset with entrepreneurs and just in general taking care of your health, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I still feel mentally 25. I don't feel any different physically. I don't have any aches and pains. I didn't tear up my body my whole life. So I'm pretty fortunate. You know, I'm a young 52-year-old. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, you know, and building businesses, believe it or not, you know, the highest percentage of top companies were started by 50-year-old plus people. So did we lose you?
There, you're back. That was weird. Keep going.
It is weird. So I just said I'm in my prime, man. I'm mentally and physically young. Chronologically, I'm 52, but most businesses are started by people 50 plus. So I'm in my prime.
When you first dove into your company, how old were you when you started LightSpeed?
30.
30. What put you in a mindset of starting? That was your first taste of really being a full entrepreneur at that point?
No, I had tried other companies before, just to no avail. What happened when I was 30 is I, for the first time ever, decided to help somebody else with nothing expected in return. And, you know, the universal law says, you know, you help others get what they want. It's a great way to get what you want. Zig Ziglar said that.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really ever understand what that meant, but I accidentally, without even thinking about it, wanted to help someone make more money. So I showed them how to make more money and I helped them. And it felt so good that I thought, man, I better do this more. So I quit my company and started my training company to help people with no real expectation, you know, and I just set out to help people and, you know, turned into a big 8-figure, almost 9-figure company.
When you first started this, what was your first venture? Like, what was your first client? Like, what were you helping them with exactly? Was it the sales aspect? Was it more the web? But what were you helping them with at that point?
Well, when I first started, I was going to be a sales trainer. You know, I was going to compete with all the big names, right? I had the best training content out there, so I could help people instantly get better. And I went out on the road to do that for a living. So when I went out there, I was the expert. I was the star. And I quickly realized that I wasn't doing as well. Like, I couldn't get people to make those shifts and make those changes and get those results. And I couldn't figure out why. So I just went back to when I used to be able to do it. And I found that there were 4 key ingredients that, if you really want to train someone, have to be involved. It's good content, repetition, practice, and accountability. Now, when I went out on the road to start my own company, I was given the good content, but there was no repetition because I was only there for a day. There was no practice really, and there was no accountability. So I was missing 3 of the 4 things, and that's why it wasn't working. So I looked for somebody that could build a training system for me that would allow me to deliver good content with repetition, practice, and accountability. And that's when I built the first version of LightSpeed. And then I went out and sold it with my own training content and got, you know, maybe 50, 60 companies to pay me $1,000 a month. But I kind of hit a wall because everyone else had a bigger name and there was all these different experts. So that's when I decided, you know what, I'm going to collaborate with other experts, let them use my technology because they're having the same struggles. They're not really training people, they're exposing people. Yeah. And I knew that it didn't matter what content you were getting, whether it was Tony Robbins or Grant Cardone or Damon John or John Maxwell, it didn't matter. Whether it was faith-based or secular, it didn't matter. The content alone is not necessarily how you learn. You learn with content, repetition, practice, and accountability. So I decided, instead of competing with Grant and Tony and all these big names, I figured I would just collaborate with them. So I went and closed them on using my technology to better deliver and train people. And obviously they agreed, which now they started using my system for their own training. And then I became a software CEO as opposed to a trainer.
When did that transition happen? How many years ago when you actually started to focus more on the software aspect of it?
It happened within 2 years of starting the company. But if I really...
So you're a real OG in this field. I mean, now that you're talking about 30, you're in your 50s now. I mean, that's that 20-year gap where the internet wasn't a big thing 20 years ago yet.
Correct. Nobody was training when I started. Like, I started the online learning movement.
Yeah. When you think of the dates and the times, I mean, that's incredible. Now, through the whole, let's talk about Brad as an entrepreneur. So that is one aspect of you. What other ventures have you dipped into? And I heard recently, I was just hearing something, you said you bought some trailer park like lot or what, like what other shit have you done like business wise? Because I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm literally, when I see an opportunity, like I'm in the process right now. I found a cook that had this great business doing kids' birthday parties with cooking. And I'm like, once COVID hit, she lost her company. I'm like, why haven't you gone digital? And I'm building her whole digital platform. So I partner up with her. I'm always seeing opportunities. I'm just doing stuff. And I tried to like building things and I don't have to touch this passive income. I love passive income. So where has your mind gone in the last like 10, 15 years with other businesses and other ventures?
Well, I didn't buy a trailer park lot. I bought an RV dealership.
RV dealership. I apologize. That's why you're a little smarty there. I love it. When did you do that? And how's that going?
Well, it's good. I mean, I had a friend that would run it, so it's really passive for me. I just basically put up some money, but it's going well. We already split it into 2 dealerships. It's doing extremely well, 10 times the revenue it's ever made in its life. So it's crushing. And we're rapidly expanding that. However, again, I don't really do anything, just really an investor, but I look for opportunities that create recurring revenue. Passive income, as you call it. I believe that your value is your passive income. When someone says how much is a guy worth or is how much is someone worth, I always tell people, throw away your earned income. Okay, pretend it doesn't come in anymore. Now how much comes in? That's what you're worth. That's what you're worth. That's the accumulation of your life, right? Your life work. Now, again, I've wasted a lot of years not investing my money, blowing my money, spending my money, but not investing my money. And so just recently, in the last 5 years, I've leveled up intelligent wise and started investing. But at the end of the day, man, if your earned income stops, how much do you have coming in? That's what you're worth.
And I think that was a reality for a lot of smaller business or entrepreneurs through 2020, right? When COVID hit, it was just a shit show, right?
Well, a lot of businesses, and business owners, they've really created a job. They haven't created a business. There's a lot of people out there that own the business, but they just have a job. Like they didn't create a business, they created a job. And the difference is your business, you can exit for 30 days and it would continue with or without you, and it would continue to improve with or without you. And now you've created a business. But if you created something where you're required to spend your time or it fails, you just created a job, my friend.
And that is obviously, in Canada, there's been over 10,000 mom and papa restaurants have all closed their doors in the last 12 months. Like I deal with the gyms directly with mom and papa martial art gyms, and just our area of Ontario, 48 gyms have all locked their doors in the last 12 months, which is incredible. What advice would you give individuals that are obviously in a situation like that now, how to get their ass out of it or how to scale out of it?
Well, to forget about it, like move on. Shit happens, Jeff. At the end of the day, you got to roll. You know what I'm saying? Like, take off the jersey or get in the game. Bad things happen to a lot of us, and it's how we react that matters. COVID happened to everybody. Boo hoo, let's go, adapt, like move. Like you said, that one lady, go digital. 20 years ago, I had an online interactive training program. Just now, people are acting like it's brilliant. Well, I've been brilliant for 20 years then. And not only that, like you want to focus on people and technology if you want to scale and grow your business. So if COVID hits you in the face and literally just destroyed everything you've built, you know that you can build something because you had something. So just start over with a positive mindset and just do it again. Like it doesn't matter how many times, you get hit. It matters how many times you get up. Oh, Sylvester Stallone or someone said that. And it's true. It's true, man. Like, so the advice I'd give is look deep inside yourself, figure out what success looks like, and then reverse engineer the map to get there. Create a roadmap. You need 3 things in life. Okay. You need relationships, resources, and a roadmap. If you have those three things, man, nothing can stop you except you.
I'm going to dive into a couple of things you said there. One, jersey. I see you are a Golden Knights fan.
You know that's right.
When did you start liking hockey? Have you always been a hockey fan, or just when the Knights moved to Vegas?
No, I married someone who was a big hockey fan, and she started getting me into it a little bit. And then because I live in Vegas, you know, the Vegas Knights, you have to root for the team you're in, man. So thankfully they kicked ass, and thankfully they kick ass, and thankfully they're freaking badass. So now I'm a fan of a good team. There's people outside of Vegas that are Golden Knights fans.
Yeah, I mean they came on, 100%. I mean they came on pretty strong, pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, and by the way, with a bunch of throwaways, those were the people that nobody protected.
Yeah, I mean they did incredibly with that draft. I mean that player draft, they did incredibly well. I mean they got tons of drafts, and then they signed. Obviously, Mark Fleury was a big part of who they signed, so that made a big difference as like having a star goalie to start the franchise with as well, right?
Dude, at the end of the day, man, someone didn't protect Mark Fleury, did they?
Mm-hmm.
Or we wouldn't have started with him. At the end of the day, man, we crushed it. It was a Cinderella story. There is no team in the history of the world to even get to the Stanley Cup, let alone almost win it. Like, we almost won it. And then the second year we got screwed by the Sharks, and everybody knows it, or we would have won that deal. And then again, right now they're saying that we're contender right now again. Like, dude, Vegas Golden Knights is the Mighty Ducks. It's the Miracle on Ice.
Yeah, I was say, do you got season tickets to there, or you just go on a regular basis?
No, I got season tickets. You know who sits behind me? Huh? Everyone. I got glass seats.
Very cool.
I had a suite too, and gave that up because they kept raising the price to up to $500,000 a year for my suite. Yeah. So I said, look, I'm just going to stick with the glass seats. And the reason why is one day I brought Floyd Mayweather to the hockey game, and we're sitting there, and I looked over at him and I said, dude, we can go up to the suite anytime you want. Just let me know. And he said, no, right here. And I said, dude, if you had the opportunity to sit here or the suite, you'd sit here. And he goes, oh yeah. So again, it's like, dude, when Floyd Mayweather says the glass seats are better than the suite, I listened.
How long have you been living in Vegas for?
91, since 91.
91. What put in your head to move to Vegas? What was your original move to Vegas for? Was it for business? Was it for lifestyle?
No, dude. I always tell people it was a bad acid trip. I was living in Seattle, living the perfect life, free cars, selling cars at Acura of Seattle. You know, my dating life was amazing. Everything was amazing. And one night my buddy talks me into taking acid. So we take acid, we trip on July 4th in Seattle. My friend calls right in the middle of the acid trip and tells me Las Vegas is filled with palm trees and women from UNLV and everything's great. Man, the opportunity's huge. And I said, well, I'm going to come visit. So I didn't really move here. I just came down to visit him. But I had $3,500 in my pocket. And the day after I got here, I had nothing in my pocket. So I had to get a job waiting tables to get enough money to get back home, and ended up staying.
Oh fuck, that's you can't make a story like that up. That's so fucking awesome. So all these years passed, now Vegas. You got obviously married. Was your first marriage in Vegas, I'm assuming?
Yep.
How long were you married for?
10 years.
10 years. And you had how many children do you have?
I have 6 with 4 different women, but I can explain.
This is perfect. This is dad talk happening live right now. Let's go.
Well, the first 2 were basically when I was 17 and 19. I tried this thing called sex twice, and both times someone got pregnant. And then when I moved here, I met my first wife, and we had 2 boys. And then unfortunately, well, not unfortunately now, but you know what I'm saying? We got divorced. Yeah. And then current wife wanted kids. She didn't have any. So we had 2 more little girls. So I had 2 girls from high school, 2 boys from a marriage, and 2 girls from a marriage. So I'm just waiting for the 3rd one. We'll have a boy and a girl, and then I'll be even.
So your wife pregnant again?
No, I was just joking.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow, you're pulling for 7. Well, good for you, buddy. How old are your youngest ones?
5 and 7.
So they're tiny still. They're little ones still.
They're really intelligent, beautiful little girls. Yep.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So do you have a relationship with your first daughters?
Yeah.
Or they don't live in Vegas, I'm assuming.
Yeah, they live in Vegas. One of them works for me.
Oh, that's amazing.
She's getting married. She's getting married here pretty soon, which is, she's 30 something. So it's time, right?
That's crazy when you think about it. Because I look at you, you do look quite young. So having a 30-year-old, essentially you could be a grandfather already.
Well, my wife's 33. So my daughter's 35. My wife's 33.
You're awesome.
Well, I don't know. I don't fall in love with an age. I fall in love with a person.
You shouldn't. Never fall in love with an age. You fall in love with a person. So how long have you been married now for?
10 years.
10 years. Very, very good. So where do you see let's talk about your book now. You have your book coming out in a few months, The Hard Way. Let's talk about is this your first time as an author, or have you been an author before?
Never wrote a book before. This is the first book. It's going to be the first of 5. It's called The Hard Way, which is lessons I learned the hard way so people don't have to. And really, it's just a collection of stories from my life that taught me a lesson that you're going to learn one way or the other. The question is are you going to do it the hard way, or are you going to do it the smart way? And the smart way is listening to someone who learned the hard way and just applying the same lessons to your life. So it's just a compilation of lessons, man, that are literally going to improve a lot of people's lives. I'm excited about it.
When did you take pen to paper to start writing this? Like, what clicked in your head that I got to start writing this? Because obviously, with your experience and what you've accomplished, I would assume that you had to have done this maybe 5-10 years ago. So what clicked in your head at this point? Okay, I got to start doing this now. And then why 5? Did you actually sign a 5-book deal, or is just in your head you've already planned these 5 books?
I planned 5 books. I put it up for sale about 1 year ago. Yeah. And started writing it 2 weeks after I put it up for sale, thinking that I would have it done in 90 days. So I said, you can pre-order a copy, and I figured I'll release it in a couple months and it'll be in everyone's hands within 3 months and everything's happy. Problem is I do run an 8-figure company and several. So I underestimated how hard it would be to really prioritize the book as much as I should. Now, over the period of my career, I've developed a mission to get the knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. And that's what made me write the book, because I possess a lot of information. I possess a lot of knowledge, and like hundreds of years worth of living knowledge. Why? Well, because not only did I learn the hard way in a lot of things, I've lived a lot of lifetimes in my short 52 years, but I've also had the pleasure of hanging out with some of the top minds in the world. I could FaceTime the greatest of people and minds and subject matter experts, and I ask questions, and I'm inquisitive, and I learn from everybody. So at the end of the day, I possess a lot of knowledge, and I thought I'm being hypocritical telling everybody they need to get their knowledge out there, and I'm not getting mine out there. Yeah. So I just decided one day I'm going to write a book. So I put up a landing page and said, here it comes. I named it. I knew what it was, and said, go ahead and pre-order it. Well, little did I know, 1,000 people ordered the book. And now I'm like, oh, dude, I better get this book. And then another 1,000 people ordered the book. And then another 1,000 people ordered the book. And I'm like, dude, there's a lot of people looking for this book. I can't just slap something together. Yeah. So now I started rereading all the chapters that I wrote, and I kind of rewrote those. And then every time I sat down to finish my book, I rewrote it.
Yeah.
And so now I've been half done for a year. I've been half done. And every time I sit down to finish it, I'm like, hey, I'm going in this weekend. I'm going to finish my book. I'm like, okay, I gotta reread it. So now I start rereading it, and I'll spend 3 days. And all I did was make the 10 chapters better. So anyway, I really care about the book, which is why I'm taking a little bit extra time. I told everyone it was a pre-order, so nobody can complain. I didn't say it's coming on a specific day. And I'm going to make sure it's worth it, that when they get that book in their hands, that, literally their life can change if they simply implement it.
Are you a perfectionist?
No.
You sound like one by what you're saying there.
No, I'm not a perfectionist, but I am intent on delivering value. Like, I don't want someone to get the book and be like, dude, this is the same crap you can see on his Instagram, because a lot of people follow me on Instagram. They're like, dude, this is the best content on the internet. And like, I don't want them to get the book and be like, oh, this is what he says on that. So I want to give somebody something that only exists in that book. Yeah. And it's stories like, growing up when I was 6 years old, I sold more candy bars than everybody. I almost drowned in a river swimming across the river. I won a couple of contests that adults were in and a kid wasn't supposed to be in, and I did it anyway. So all of these things, and what did it teach me, and how can you apply that right now? So if an 18-year-old kid picks up my book and reads it and implements it, they're going to be massively better. So again, because it's that important to me, I just want to make sure the book's good. It's not that I'm a perfectionist. Otherwise, it'll never come out, because it'll never be perfect.
Yeah. I mean, my first journey, and I'm actually on chapter 3 of another book. I started March writing my first book, which they're Entrepreneurial Dads, and I launched it 6 weeks ago. And it was released 6 weeks ago. But at the same time, too, it was the first time writing. And you always, my mind was, I was same thing. Every time I would read it, I would question it to the point where I'm like, I got to give it, hand it to somebody else and let them go through it and edit it properly and all that. So I got 2 final editors to go through it. But I was always the same thing. I was always, you want to make it better and make it better and make it better. And you question what you're writing, because you're exactly what you said with the content, with social media, you're always putting out stuff. And you question, like, is this what they're going to find with somewhere else, right? So I appreciate that aspect. So let's talk quickly about your podcast. When did you drop your first episode, and how long you've been doing your podcast? And let's talk a little bit about it, because that's a huge, I mean, you've built such an audience with your podcast, and it's like, and it's entertaining. It's value. Like, when I watch it, I've commented on your social media a couple times. Like, I got a smile on my face, because half the shit that comes out of your mouth is so real and authentic. And I think we live in a society where social media is full of so much fake bullshit that you're probably one of the few on social media that's actually authentic. When you got something in your head to say, you'll say it. When I see the little smirk on your face when you're looking at somebody across from you, and they're full of shit or they're full of lies. And you're just sitting, I'm sitting there, I'm just like laughing at myself, like, this guy's so fucking authentic and he can't even hide it. So I appreciate that. So when you started your podcast, let's start from the beginning. When did you first start your first podcast launch, and how has it all come together?
I don't know the day it was. I just remember one day saying, man, I got a lot of people coming in here, because we have, studios, and we help people create interactive content and all that. So I'm like, man, I got people coming and going. Why not get a couple microphones, set them down, and just, start shooting the shit a little bit. Yeah. And then someone said, what do you want to call it? And I said, dude, I don't know. And then I did it. Not on a podcast, but I just sat in a room and talked to this individual. No one would know his name, but anyway, we left there, and the guy goes, dude, you were in there dropping bombs. And so I said, dude, that's a great name for a podcast. So I went and Googled dropping bombs to see if it was available, and it was. And so I bought dropping bombs, and then I ordered my microphones and my Rodecaster and put it in the studio, and just started having Grant Cardone and Damon John and all my clients land on it. And I just started talking. And again, it's not really an interview. A lot of people think it's an interview. It's just me and them shooting the shit about things. Yeah. We talk about, we could start out talking about business and end up talking about high school sweethearts. Like, who knows where we go. But the cool part is we do talk about situations, challenges, and we do drop bombs on them and what we did to correct those. And people learn from it, man. I get thousands of emails and DMs a month talking about how literally an episode changed their life. And I'm like, dude, this is cool. And then I started rising up through the ranks. Next thing I know, someone sends me this thing that says, dude, you're in the top 10 podcasts in the world. And I'm like, oh, cool. And they're like, what do you mean cool, dude? There's like 800,000 podcasts and you're in the top 10.
So after the last 12 months, they're saying there's over 1.8 million podcasts now.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly when, like the timeline, but I know it was about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. I just decided to sit down and get people on a microphone. And that's when I started. And now we get, hundreds of thousands of downloads an episode. And, it's funny because you ever heard of Cameo?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Cameo reached out to me and said, we want you on Cameo. So I'm like, well, what's Cameo? So I go and I look and it's like, wow, these are like real people, real celebrities, athletes, things like that. I'm thinking, dude, this is like, of course I'll do it. Like, it makes me look cool, right? Like I'm somebody, right? They want me on Cameo. So I'm like, well, sure, dude, I'll do Cameo. So I register, sign up. They're telling me to send this out to your friends. And then I was looking at Cameo and I'm noticing, this is an athlete, and this guy plays for the NFL, and this is an actor, and this is a comedian. And I thought, I wonder what they're calling me. So I went to look thinking, what are they going to say? Like entrepreneur or something? So I went and looked and I was a podcaster. So basically they reached out because I was a famous podcaster. And what's funny is I'm not necessarily a podcaster. I just record conversations and put them out for people to listen to.
But that's what makes it special. I honestly believe that, Brad. Like with Mike, like I never have set questions. I have one question at the end to ask everybody. I never have set questions, right? It just have a conversation wherever it goes. Sometimes it'll be dry. Sometimes it'll be fun. Like I just had from
never dry, Jeff. If you're the host, it's never dry.
No. What I mean,
and if it ever is dry, it's your fault.
I just recorded last week Monique Idles, which is she's one of the 3 on Undercover Billionaire this season, and we just had the most epic conversation, right? So it's just that fun conversations where you just don't have a set question, you just go with the flow, and wherever it goes, it goes. That's what makes it fun, right? So, being a dad, what does it mean to you to be a dad?
Well, it just means responsibility. You're responsible. You're responsible. That's what it means.
So with your podcast, so you're doing, how many episodes do you guys record a week?
As many as I need to. Like if someone shows up, I'll do 3 in a day if there's 3 people coming in and out of here. But I release 2 a week, Mondays and Thursdays.
Now, with your podcast, all these guests you have on, do you have different levels of guests? Are they all clients of yours? Are they all like, is there different, are you using them as monetization? Like, how do you pick your guests? I know you have some big, you have some not so big guests. Do you mix and match? Like, how does that all work with you?
They just have to interest me. I get a lot of people calling, hey, I'm a top realtor in, Kentucky, and, I could drop bombs on this and that. It's like, number one, I'm not, I've already talked to realtors, so that doesn't really interest me. So I, pass. And then, obviously if they're famous, like Black China's management called me the other day and said, Black China loves you and wants on your podcast. So I'm like, dude, absolutely, Black China. So they just, some of them are clients, obviously Grant Cardone, Damon John, a lot of the clients that I have, I call them and tell them to get on it. And now it's coming to a point where it's like my clients and celebrities are calling me to get on it. Like, in other words, being on my podcast as a celebrity helped me in the beginning. And fortunately, now it's helping the guest as much. So it's a win-win now. So that's really where you want to get to on a podcast, to where like Joe Rogan, I mean, people would pay to be on Joe Rogan for the exposure. Well, dude, he's been podcasting a long time. He was podcasting before anybody was, really. And that consistency,
that's where I was getting at with you, because, and I didn't want to say it in that direction, but there is, I mean, you get to a certain level where you're a media outlet. You're a huge media outlet now. So people will pay to get that exposure that you're offering them, right? They get 100,000 downloads of an hour that's an hour commercial. Like, that's massive. That's worth a lot of money, right? Especially in your exposure now. So, I mean, that's congrats on that platform you built, and it's obviously a lot of hard work, and it doesn't come easy, but you've put the process in place and you built it nicely. Where do you get the Rhino Where did that all come around? The Rhino logo.
Well, I always ask people, you ever try and stop one?
Sure, okay. That's
At the end of the day, if you look around my office, it's filled with rhinos. See that one right there?
Yeah.
So like it's filled with rhinos. People just started getting them for me, but I identified with a rhino just because they're unstoppable, right? You're not going to try to get in its way, and if you do, you got problems because it'll go right through you. And I go through problems like they're going out of style. But let me go back to a question. You said, what does it mean to be a dad? And I just said responsibility. If you're listening to this podcast and you are a dad and you're trying to be a better dad, which is, why you elected to listen, or just, you identify with being a dad and that responsibility. Here's the thing, for the first couple of years, I would say it cost me my first marriage being an entrepreneur. And it took a ton of time away from my kids. Now, a lot of people say, well, I regret that. But I don't, because if I didn't do that, now that they're adults where they can really benefit from a successful father, connections, support, things of that nature, I can help them. Maybe I couldn't have if I didn't sacrifice time, with my kids. So I think a lot of people struggle with, how do you find that balance? I don't think there is a balance. I think realistically, as a parent, you just have to, attend to the squeakiest wheel. If 2 weeks go by, I'm at my company night and day, and I don't even spend any time with the kids. When I get home or in the morning, I'll spend quality time with them, and then I'll go to work. Why? Because they're fine. They don't need you as much as you think they do. Well, I'm their father. Yeah, well, get out of their way. Let them learn. Let them enjoy. Don't be a helicopter parent. Don't feel obligated to spend time with your kids because that's what society thinks you should do. Like at the end of the day, do you and get in a position that you can help your kids. That's the responsibility part. Like if you have to, and this is just my opinion, a lot of people are going to disagree, but in my opinion, sometimes you need to sacrifice for what you want, or what you want becomes the sacrifice. You gotta prioritize. Sometimes your kids are just fine without your brother or sister. Just go to work and put the nose to the grindstone and spend 2 months just completely in your work. Where, well, that's not very good parent. It is if that 2 months elevated your ability to help your kids, elevated your ability to support your family. You know what I'm saying? You sacrificed a couple of parties or a couple of games of Candyland. Big deal. Okay. My parents never really spent hardly any time with me, and I turned out just fine. And guess what they taught me by doing that? How to survive, which if you look at it based on your perspective, maybe more parents should start doing that. Like, let your kids figure it out. Let your kids develop their own ways of solving problems. You know what I'm saying? And don't worry about being gone so damn much. Too many people worry about that because society says, oh, you better spend time with your children. Listen, spend time with your children. But what do you want to spend time doing? Like, my kids love the beach. I love renting a beach house and spending 7 straight days with them. Well, guess what? I can't do that unless I ignored them a little bit and paid attention to my business. Okay. I can't get them a beach house. I can't pay for their weddings. I can't buy them cars if I didn't pay attention to my business. So what would be better for them? Time, hugs and memories of love and support, and no car and no help and a welfare wedding because nobody can afford anything. And, well, geez, at least you had time with them. Folks, quit buying into that shit. Okay. You got to have something to do. Now, again, don't get me wrong. I believe you should spend time with your family and your kids, but not to the price of the bigger responsibility, which is, to me, a parent, a dad. You're responsible, friend. You got to be responsible. Are you going to provide? Are you going to make sure they end up doing well? Are you going to make sure that they're learning what they need to learn? Are you able to literally support them to a level of integration, meaning, ignoring them, letting them figure it out, letting them be poor for a little bit, let them learn what it's like to hold a job? Yeah, you should. Because again, to me, how are you going to teach them these things guys. We're dads. We're not excellent instructors. We're not sages. We're not gurus. We're dads. We're responsible. So sometimes you have to figure out ways of getting to the destination regardless of the path. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, that's just my 2 cents on being a dad. I think you're responsible, and I think you owe it to your kids to do what you need to do and be an example, and stop worrying about, spending quality time every 5 seconds. Your kids don't need you that much.
I love that. I mean, you talk about dropping bombs right now. You just went on a rampage right now. I love it. There's one thing you said there there's a few things you said there. There's one thing you said there is it's very important to understand is being present is being present. You could be at home and be like, I'm spending time with my kids, and you're on your phone. You're not present. You're more productive spending 30 minutes quality time with them and doing something that they like or doing something with them than being there for 4 or 5 hours wasting your time and their time. So I appreciate that aspect of it.
Dude, not to mention, Jeff, your wife.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I almost freaking got in another situation where, like, I was doing exactly that. I was going home, at 6:30, but I was answering emails and watching TV and wanting to unwind and not really looking at them, not really talking to them, but I was spending time with them. Well, guess what? That would have cost me everything. I was ignoring my wife. I was ignoring my kids, even though I was spending time with them. So what you just said is massive. Like, when you go spend time, put your phone away, prioritize who's important right here. Because if you had to pick between your kids and your business, which would you pick?
Obviously, you have to pick your business to support your kids. I get where you're getting.
No. If you had to pick your business or your kids, which would you pick?
Obviously, you're going to pick your kids.
Then there you already know your priority, right? Okay. But guess what? When the wheel ain't squeaking, you can move, you can turn and focus on something else. And then when the wheel starts squeaking, come back. But when you come back 100%.
I mean, I call it, everybody that knows me, I've been talking about this for years, I call it the 3 to 7. So I'm intentionally home. Everything I do, Brad, is schedule blocked, and which is a lot of entrepreneurs, they block their schedule. I intentionally block 3 to 7 o'clock. So 3 to 7 o'clock every night, that's family time. That's time to have dinner. I think having dinner, especially when your kids are young, is so important. Being able to have an open conversation, talk to them. I've been doing that with my kids since they were tiny. So now that my kids are 12, my daughter's in high school at 14, she's built this open comfort of just sitting in front of a meal and having a conversation with us, that at 14, she's telling me everything she's going through at school, sitting down and having a meal. And then we have friends of ours that have kids that are the same age and they don't have no communication with their daughters. So I call it the 3 to 7, but I sacrifice. You talk about sacrifice. I don't like getting up early. These entrepreneurs like, I'm up at 4:30. Woo. I fucking hate it. But I sacrifice myself to be up at 4:30 every morning to get as much shit done as I can, so I could be home from 3 to 7, turn off my phone. That's my family block time, right? From Monday to Friday. So I appreciate that. It's all about sacrifices and being, when you are there, being present, even if for an hour or half an hour, being present, right? And it's funny you said that, because growing up, my dad, this is pure off topic, but it is very much what you said, aligned with what you said. My dad was Ford Motors, factory working 2 weeks a day, 2 weeks a night, 2 weeks a month. I want to see my dad. But one thing my dad did was he would take all his vacation and block it for 4 weeks a year. And for those 4 weeks, we would spend 3 weeks in Cape Cod. We pick in the car, load our car, go from Toronto to Massachusetts, and be on a little beach house in Cape Cod 3 weeks a year. And of the whole year, that was the one thing we look forward to as a family. We're together, away from everything for 3 weeks a year. So having that intentional time is so important. And as a kid, that was my biggest memories. And when I had kids, the first thing I did was grab my kids and we went to Cape Cod for a road trip. So being intentional with those memories, I think, is so valid and important. I love what you said, that like spending a week at a beach house and be able to afford it. My dad didn't make a lot of money, but he sacrificed what he had to do to be able to pay for that. And he knew that was his memories and his building blocks for as a dad. So I love what you said that. There's a lot of power behind something simple like that. So let's just get into a few little things before we get going here. So I know your time is limited here. A couple questions I always ask all our guests near the end. If something were to happen to you today, in a few words, how would you want to be remembered by your loved ones? I'm making you think now, huh?
Yeah, because again, that's not something I've ever really thought about. How would I want to be remembered?
Has anyone ever asked you to write a living eulogy?
No.
That is like the most powerful shit you could ever do, Brad. You write a living eulogy and you will clearly look at it and be like, is this how, am I living like this? The way I want to be remembered by my friends, my family, am I actually living like this? It's very powerful to do. It's something simple, but it's very powerful to do.
Well, I mean, mine would be often and fondly.
Often,
As long as I'm remembered often and fondly, then I think I made the impact I'm looking to make.
now, I see you do public, okay, go, continue on that, go.
That's it. Like you asked, how do I want to be remembered? Often, often, and fondly.
Yeah, that is awesome. With yourself, over the next couple of years, I see you're doing public speaking. Is that something you've done on a regular basis?
No. Again, I'm a CEO of a software company mainly, but people ask me to speak a lot, and so I will do that. I've got like 9 this year so far booked, and I've already done like 4. But I'll do it here and there.
Yeah, that's something you're doing here and there. That is awesome. Is there anything that you want to leave with our audience today?
If I were to leave anybody with anything, it's going to be get to know thyself. Like, folks, there's no podcast on earth that can be life-changing as you can be for yourself. You have to go look in the mirror and really figure out what it is you find valuable and worthy, create a roadmap, and go get it. Work on yourself, know thyself, build yourself, that self-worth, self-love, self-value. That's literally the most important, I think, thing you can do. Forget your business, forget your kids. I can't believe he just said that. Listen, go focus on yourself. That's how you help your kids, is you focus on yourself and you get to be somebody worthwhile. And a lot of times we grow up with all of this negativity and failure and discouragement and society and the hate and whatnot. And we literally develop a lack of confidence when it's so easily cured. You go work on yourself. It's just like when you're in an airplane, they say, put your own mask on first. That's what I mean. Work on yourself so you can better help your children and you can better help your employees and you can better help society. If everyone just focused on themselves, this world would be perfect.
What do you do to focus on yourself? What measures do you take on a regular basis to focus on yourself?
Well, I mean, over a period of time, I've developed 2 programs that I think were the big differentiator. The first one I call the Sacred 6. Okay, the Sacred 6 is number 1, you have to forgive yourself because you have screwed yourself and other people over for years, and you have to forgive yourself for that, openly and consciously and intentionally forgive yourself. Then step 2, you commit to do what you say you're going to do from that day forward. You will not agree to do something and fail to do it again after this day. You commit to do what you say you're going to do. That's just a choice, man. You just commit to do what you say you're going to do, and then you do it. Yeah. So the step 3 is to rack up the wins. Too many times we're setting these high goals and we fail, and that, puts into our head that we failed. Whether we win or lose, is important. So you want to rack up the wins because you can't erase those memories, but you can replace those memories with wins. So you just want to rack up the wins. And to do that, you just pick 10 small goals every day and achieve them. So you start replacing those wins and those losses and those procrastinations with positive, accomplishment. And then about, 60 to 90 days later, step 4 comes into play, which is get rid of the idiots. Like, you're going to start identifying the idiots that are talking shit and talking trash and very discouraging, whether it's your family or otherwise. You got to get rid of them, man. Block them out. Don't hang around people that aren't your friend. You know how you know if they're your friend? They support you. Okay, so get rid of the idiots. And then step 5 is to really get clarity on what it is you want and get that roadmap developed to where it's like a GPS. I mean, if I told you walk into a room and look for someone and you don't know what they look like, how hard is it to find them? Well, when we ask ourselves, what does success look like? A lot of us don't have the answer. We can, money. Well, how much money? Where's it coming from? You don't even know where your money's coming from. I want to be a millionaire. Doing what? I don't know. I just want to be a millionaire. Okay, good. That's called a lofty goal. Hallelujah. You can have ambition. How are we going to get there, folks? Get clarity. That's step 5. Get clarity. Okay. And then step 6 is literally seek knowledge on a daily basis.
Yeah.
If you want to change what you're getting, you have to change what you're doing. In order to change what you're doing, you have to change what you believe. The only way to change what you believe is to get new information. So the new information is out there from Albert Einstein and freaking Immanuel Kant and, Voltaire and the list goes on and on. Pick up a book and read it on a daily basis, and you'll start to get a little bit more intelligent, a little bit more knowledgeable. You'll start to think, you'll start to challenge, you'll start to really question things. And that's really where you want to be. You want to be someone who thinks for yourself. You want to stop listening to the society and the world and start thinking for yourself, man. Like, in order to think for yourself, dude, that's massive accomplishment. If you just think for yourself, it doesn't make you skeptical. Okay. You can be optimistic and skeptical at the same time, can't you? It's called thinking for yourself, listen, but be skeptical. You know what I'm saying?
I love it, brother. I mean, this is, you've given a lot of information there. And I love what you said there too. Number 5 is people don't realize how easy it is. People are so scared of investing in a mentor, investing into mentorship or a coach, but you spend $20, $25, buy a book, you're taking 15, 20 years, like your book, you're going to take 15, 20 years of your lessons into a reading simple little book, right? Spend 2 weeks of your life and $20 and how much knowledge you could intake. And I think it's out there for us. What?
It doesn't take 2 weeks to read a book, but I hear you.
Yeah, what I mean? It's just the intake of the knowledge, right?
I say you read a book every single day. If every single day you didn't read 20, 30 pages, take off your jersey and sit down, son. You're not really serious. Because that's another thing, dude. A lot of people claim they want to do something and they want to be something, but they're not willing to do the work. They're just saying, I want it. And then when there's like, okay, well, get up at 4:30 in the morning. No. Okay, so go to the gym. No. Okay, so turn off your phone. No. It's like, I want it, but I'm not willing to do it. There's more of those than anything. So I would leave people with that too. Like, dude, make a commitment, man. Make a decision and commit to going where you want to go.
Because you don't think social media has a huge play in how that all works out? Because we live in a society where victims are rewarded more than heroes. So you get somebody that posts, and I talked about this the other day where I lost my job. They're going to get 30, 40 comments like, oh my God, I'm so sorry for you. And then somebody posts, I got a job, you might get 1 or 2 likes. We live in a society where it's you're rewarded to be the victim. So it's like people utilize that and really intake that. You don't think so?
No, only because what you just said is not what happens. So that might be the perception, but it's not reality. You are never rewarded as the victim. Okay. You're not a victim. Right. And you'll never be rewarded. It might be perceived that you are, but you're not. Like, again, I mean, when someone gets a job, they get 1 or 2 comments. That's because people, believe it or not, deep down, they're haters. They don't really want you to do better than them.
That makes sense. Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
Dude, listen, people want you to do well, but they don't want you to do better than them.
Yeah.
So when you look around and your friends are like, oh, that's awesome. That's good. That's great. In reality, get too much of that, start doing too well, and literally people will turn. Why? Because you're doing better than them. Nobody wants you to do better than them. They just say they do. In reality, they don't want you to do better than them. Yeah. And once you realize that, it's like, listen, close your mouth. Like I always tell people, look, show them, don't tell them. Don't run around telling everybody your plans. Just show them your plans. Like, what are you talking about? Like listen with your eyes and you'll see all you need to hear. I don't need to tell you my plan. Hey, you know what I'm going to start doing, and let me show you, and here's what I'm going to be doing, and you're going to see me one day. And like, you don't need to say any of that. Okay. Get a map, get clarity, get a roadmap, build relationships. Get resourceful or resources and a roadmap, and you're gone, man. You don't have to tell anyone everything because you're going to be showing them. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to tell people I'm going to build an 8-figure company. I showed people that I built an 8-figure company. When people always ask me, because a lot of times on interviews, people will ask me, so what's next? What are you doing? What are your plans? What are your goals? I don't really talk much because, yeah, I'm going to end up a billionaire. That's a goal, but like how? More what I'm doing. Like I'm not getting into it, dude. You know why? Because deep down, this is real. People won't this is real. People don't want you to do better than they are.
Yeah.
So keep your mouth closed and just go kick ass, and don't worry about telling people things. Worry about letting them see you kick ass, because by then it's too late. But if you talk about it, dude, there are some evil forces in this world that will put up all kinds of obstacles and challenges you do not need. Keep your mouth shut. Go out there and kick ass. And by the time they're talking crap, it's too late. You already kicked that ass.
I love it. I swear to God, you sound like my mom. My mom's, anytime when I was younger and I would say, I swear to God, everything you're saying right now, when I was younger, and if I would ever say, I'm going to do this or this, my mom would hear me say, shut your mouth, don't tell people about it, just go out and do it. She'd always say that to me. And it's so powerful. It's true. It's very, very true. It's very, very powerful, very honest, very true. And that's why I honestly connected to you, is your authenticity, right? And there's no sugarcoating with you, and you just tell it as it is.
Well, dude, because you gotta get to the truth of the matter. The truth of you can't be fluffy. Like you go on Clubhouse. You go on Clubhouse. That's where we
No,
met.
I'm not. We'll talk about that in a second. I can't stand Clubhouse, but go.
But I mean, you go on Clubhouse and everybody's, thank you for holding space for me, and thank you for pouring into us, and I'm here to honor you for. It's like, shut up. You ain't looking to honor anybody about anything. You're looking to talk so everybody knows who you are. There's some authentic people there too. Trust me, there's some good people on Clubhouse, but it's just crowded with all these fake people. It's like, dude, listen, be real. Number one, be realistic. Number two, like, folks, human behavior, go study it. Like we're animals, right? We have, there's studies, there's research. We behave certain ways. We're animalistic. I'm telling you. So when you understand human behavior, then you start to realize facts. Like, facts are, people don't necessarily want you to do bad. They just don't want you to do better than them. So like, if you know that, you instantly go, oh, well, then I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Right. And that's what you should do. Keep your mouth shut. Focus. Get clarity. Commit. Do what you say. Let them see. Don't talk. Let them see everything. And then get realistic. Success isn't rocket science, folks. It's not rocket science. I can tell anyone how to double their business. They just won't do what I tell them. They'll act like that's too simple. It has to be harder than that. Like Jeff, I can literally tell anybody how to double their revenues, no matter how big they are or how little they are. And when I get done, they're going to say, well, that's too easy. Well, you can say what you want. That's the answer. And the question is why aren't you doing it? Well, it's too easy. I need some rocket science formula. Success shouldn't be this easy, or they feel stupid that they didn't think of it. Or they're like, some of them are humble and they go, holy moly, I've never looked at it that way. And they make the changes, and guess what happens to their business, their revenues? They double, they triple, they quadruple. And they're like literally going, oh my God, I spent 20 years trying to figure this out and it was that easy. Well, that's because life is easy unless you say it isn't. How many people would agree that life is hard? Ask questions, Jeff, to your future guests and say, let me ask you a question. Life's hard, right? They'll be like, well, yeah, I mean, life is hard. Life is not hard, dude. You're automatically wired to survive. Like it's in you, dude. It's just in you. Like, it's automatic. You are designed to survive. So in that of itself means life is easy. Well, I'm having struggles at work, dude. That's not life. Okay. Life is breathing air and interacting and thinking and imagining and living and dreaming. And, life is easy. You're automatically going to survive. The question is how well do you want to survive? And most people don't put any time and figure that out, which is the equivalent of me telling you to go into a room full of 1,000 people and look for someone and you have no clue what they look like. Dude, you're going to be wandering around that room forever. Like, stop and ask some questions. Stop and get some clarity. Stop, man. Stop the merry-go-round. Quit thinking it's rocket science. Hey, I'm looking for success. What does it look like? I don't know. Well, why don't you take some time and figure it out? Oh, it ain't that easy. Oh, it isn't? Oh, okay. Figure it out, folks. It is that easy. You know, quit listening to this fluffy shit, dude. Everybody doesn't want you to win. Okay. Theoretically, again, people are good. So I'm going to say, like, they don't want you to lose. Like, again, I don't look at you and think, man, I hope Jeff loses. I am a rare one. Like, I hope Jeff Lopes kicks so much ass, whether I do or not is irrelevant. I want you to freaking max out. So at the end of the day, there's a few of us out there that really do love and cheer on success. Like, I love it. I want everyone to win.
I absolutely love, like, when I hear you and you saying I want to be a billionaire, I'm cheering you on. Whether you believe it or not, I can look in your face and I'm like, to me, that drives me. I want people to do well because it drives me to want to do as well as them, if not better than them. That's a competitive edge. So if anybody that doesn't want people to succeed is full of shit. Like, even when all my companies I run, I'm aware of what my competition does. I don't give a shit what they do. I focus on what I'm able to do. So if you're able to focus on yourself and focus on what you can control, you're in the right path. And everything you're saying is dead on, right? I'm going to jump into something right here because you're Clubhouse. Where's your mindset with Clubhouse? Because I'm going to tell you a quick little thing. I loved it for about a week and a half, and then I hate it because I think it's a room. Everybody's a millionaire. Everybody's a billionaire. I know so many guys on there that I know on a personal level, and I read their profiles like, I just exited a $2 billion company. You fucking run a landscaping business, for God fucking sake. You're full of shit. So there's a lot of bullshit on there, and I think it was just too much, whereas everybody's just trying to sell themselves. So now I'm on Clubhouse with Dan Caldwell, which you know, Tap Out, Shake Hildebrand. I have a bunch of guys, it's us five, and I'm on once a week for 1 hour on Fridays, dad talk. We talk about dad shit, and I'm off. That's all I am, 1 hour, and I'm very persistent with it. I see you're on it a little bit more than me because I see a ping of Brad. What's your mindset with Clubhouse?
Well, I'm on it not as much as you.
I'm on one hour a week. That's all I'm on it now.
Yeah, well, again, in 3 weeks I haven't been on. This morning I was on Breakfast with Champions as a spotlighted guest, so I was on today. And then sometimes I'll go home, pull out a cigar and chill out for a minute, and I'll just pop in and listen. But when I listen, everyone mods me up and brings me up and wants me to talk, and it's like I just wanted to listen to what you guys were talking about.
Yeah.
But here's my 2 cents on it. From now on, other than, recreational here and there, wanting to listen and or contribute, because sometimes, I have shit to say and I can help people. So I jump in to help people. But if I'm on there, it's going to be business related, meaning I'll spend an hour to teach people how to make courses online and make a bunch of recurring revenue, because that's my expertise. So I'll answer questions and I get a bunch of leads. Like the other day I did one that said how to make real money selling courses online. I had like 300 people. I'm answering questions, and we did $500,000 in revenue from the people listening. Okay, so like if you hear me, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Clubhouse is an excellent lead generation tool.
Yeah.
I used to say I'm going to get on and do these things where I just help people every day. I had Problem Solved with Brad Lea and friends, and I'd spend 2 hours, which goes by just like this.
Mm-hmm.
I'd spend 2 hours and try to help people. And after a while, I'm like, dude, this isn't really helping. They're not actually going to do any of this stuff. Everybody that you bring up to ask a question, they want to tell you who they are and what they're doing so they can get exposure. Like, to me, it's just all this fake shit.
Yeah.
But there is some real stuff. And by the way, if I were not successful and I wanted answers, then I would be on Clubhouse. Why? Well, because even though there are a bunch of blowhards, there are real people on Clubhouse, and they do talk real shit. Like if you ever see my room, Problem Solved, jump in there. I'm not selling you anything. I'm helping you get past challenges. It's almost like a live dropping bombs. But there's some real people on Clubhouse, bro. I mean, Grant Cardone, he's a real dude. He's a real dude. Tony Robbins has been on Clubhouse. Elon Musk has been on Clubhouse. So just, use your brain and don't believe everything you hear on their profile. That's all I'd say. But dude, I don't have time. I don't have time to be on Clubhouse all damn day. Now, if you see someone on Clubhouse all day, they're always on Clubhouse. That is their business. That is their business. They don't have anything else to do better than Clubhouse. Well, then that tells you that is their business. That's why they're on Clubhouse, because they have nothing better going on. And quite frankly, I do. So I can't be on Clubhouse. If I am, it's going to be an hour here, an hour there, or I'm popping in a room while I'm smoking a cigar. You better just follow me and turn on notifications, because there is no schedule.
God, I just want every word of that. With your podcast, have you ever thought of doing it live on Clubhouse?
Yes, I've thought about opening a room and just let them hear me do a podcast, and then afterwards jump into the room and ask follow-up Q&A, live Q&A. Yeah.
Just put I was thinking about that the other day. We were talking about that a couple weeks ago. Just literally, if you're doing a live podcast, just slap your phone, get your guests to slap their phone down, and just do it, and then slap it. I think somebody like you would get it could just open up a huge opportunity of more followers, right?
I'm doing 2 today, I think, and maybe I will open a Clubhouse room, hit Dropping Bombs Live as the title, and then just let them hear it, and then tell my guests to jump in Clubhouse and Q&A with the crowd. I'll try it today, see what happens.
We've been on for a little over an hour. It's 2:12 here. This has been amazing, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate your authenticity. I mean, I'm just listening. I don't know if you noticed, you're watching the screen. I got a little spot on my face the whole time because you're as authentic as they come. So, I mean, good for you, man. Keep it real, and I hope to see that billionaire status a lot sooner than later with you. And I wish you all the success and everything you do, man. You obviously work hard. You've been at it for a long time, and you deserve everything you're doing, because you're obviously helping a lot of people. So I appreciate that, brother.
Well, thank you, sir. And just for the record, I'm already a billionaire.
Oh, I apologize.
I'm just waiting on the paycheck.
Have you ever been to Toronto, Canada?
Yeah. I like Canada, man. I'll tell you, Vancouver is my favorite, but Toronto was cool. My question is, how come you don't have a picture of me behind you?
Well, hopefully you'll make it there one day.
Well, what do I got to do?
Change a couple more lives. I don't know. Get out there more.
All right.
TV show. Get on Shark Tank.
All right. I should send you a video.
Have you thought about getting on Shark Tank, trying to get on there?
No.
Just the exposure. That's the thing with a show like that. Is just the exposure overnight. It blows somebody up to another level, right? And also your client. You said you work with Johnny. What's his name? Damon John. I mean, just the exposure of TV is just it's another level, right? It takes your branding to a level that is just you can do whatever you want at that point. Especially with who you are, it just takes everything to another level, right?
You ain't lying, dog. I'm working on it, bro. Keep your eyes peeled. Like you haven't seen nothing yet, Jeff.
I'm the same, buddy. I mean, I just started branding myself 9 months ago. Like I never branded myself. And I mean, there's a lot of shit's gonna happen with me. Like I'm like you. I'm very confident in myself. I'm very confident in my ability. I'm very confident in my mindset. And when I put something in my head, it's done. So it's people like yourself. It's a world shakers, right? I mean, just people that just get out there and do what you have to happen. They just make it happen. You just had on Tim's story, and he was dropping some great stuff about you too, right? Which I appreciate, because I love Tim's story. I love what he does. I had him on my podcast. We had a really good conversation. So everything you're doing, brother, keep it up, kill it, and I appreciate you, man. Anything last words you want to say?
No, likewise, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you, brother.